Hi everybody, Brendan Clench, Solutions Architect for the Aruba team here at Synnex, and I just wanted to hop on today to talk about another tool on Aruba's website that you can use to help select controllers. Now, we've used a similar tool. If you look at another video, there's a video talking about how to find and compare access points. Well, you can do the same thing with controllers. If you need to compare features, amount of users that are able to get on, all those kinds of things, you can do that. Aruba makes that just as easy as they did with the access points, and I'll show you how to do that today and what you can see, what key components you can see in that feature to help you make the right choice for your business. So first, let's hop into the website again, just to get you to where I'm at right now. Again, this little top right hand corner is a great little way to navigate. It's our navigator tool, and if we go over to products and move on to controllers, we'll land here on this page that I'm currently sitting at, which is our controller page. Now on this page, you'll see right away we've got all kinds of things available to us, and just like you could do on the access point comparison tool, you can go ahead and expand this product finder if you want specifically to compare only ones that have a particular feature. So if you want to select the amount of ports that are available on the actual controller itself, if you're going to be terminating APs to the controller themselves, you can do that. You can also select the office size, things like power over Ethernet, redundant power, things like that. You can certainly do that in this product finder. But today, just to show you how this little comparison tool works, unless you haven't had a chance to maybe look at the comparison tool video for access points, or you just want to see this anyway, how it looks different on the controllers versus the access points, we'll do that just right now. So here's what's considered up here, our campus controllers, meant to be master controllers in a master local environment, or even as standalones for larger customers. This is where you want to take a peek. Whereas if we move down to the bottom, we're looking at the branch and standalone controllers that are meant to be local controllers or standalone masters for very small deployments. So let's go ahead real quick. Let's say we're curious about these little guys down here that look like access points. These are actually controllers. These are our 7005 and 7008 mobility controllers. Great for small offices that you just need a little bit of presence at, and maybe this is more suited than maybe having a wrap in place. But you want to know what each of these things does. Now right away you'll see in the summary sometimes you can get the info you need. So what's the difference between maybe a 7005 and a 7008? Well, one gives us that entry branch level, minimum amount of users, but a minimum footprint as well for these things. So the 7008, what this does is it adds switch ports. So let's go ahead, just for sake of example, we'll go ahead and do a comparison between a 7008. I'll just click this add to comparison, and I'll highlight over it. We'll do a top end 7030. And then let's compare those to the entry-level 7205. Now, as you notice, as I've clicked the 3, the rest are grayed out, and I have to go ahead and choose to compare these things or get rid of one and add another in there. So let's go ahead and click Compare. Now, once we click Compare, this is the screen that is going to pop up. And right away, again, we just want to go through some of the quick specs that maybe this tool would be effective for you in choosing your controllers for. Again, we're looking at our summaries below that, which can tell us quite a bit, actually, more than you might think in terms of what direction we want to head. But it's kind of got these spaced out a little bit differently. So obviously, 7030 is meant as a medium to large size branch office, whereas a 7008 is for an entry-level branch office it needs a little bit, a switch ports. And then the 7205 is obviously high performance for a very small campus. And you can see the amount of AP licenses that is supported on each particular platform. Right away, we can see the maximum AP licenses, which is the smallest for the 7008, goes up to 64 for the 7030. And of course, when we make that jump from the 7000 series up into the 7200 series, we see that it's not just doubling. We're exponentially growing up the chain here, right? We go from 64 all the way up to 256. And the same thing applies to if you're using a wrap that is terminating to these controllers. The same rules apply, same amount of remote AP licenses would be matching to the campus AP licenses. There are no power over Ethernet ports, of course, on certain models that we have, and these particular ones, it's not showing up here. Always double check that with the data sheet if that's something that's important to you, because again, sometimes this comparison tool, it should have those informations in there, but it doesn't always have everything. So if that's something that's important and doesn't have any information in there like this, go ahead and head on over to the data sheet to double check that. Just to prove what I'm talking about here, if I hop up to the 7008, for instance, at any given time, if I want to learn more about any of these, I can actually go ahead and click on this picture of the 7008, and it will take me straight to the 7000 series controllers particular information page. Now, if I pull up the 7000 series data sheet, that'll take me to this page where I will be able to see the specs on these particular models, right? So we're looking at the 7008, and if you notice on the comparison page, we didn't see any options for PoE or PoE Plus. But if you read this section here, the 7008 mobility controller is a compact fanless entry-level branch platform with 8 integrated PoE and PoE Plus switch ports. So that's where it becomes important to read those things, because it's not always going to show up in the tool. So if that's an important feature for you and you want to know more about it and there's nothing listed there, go ahead and check out the data sheet, which I recommend doing anyway, just to get a little bit deeper dive into these things. But that way you'll at least know that you have the correct information for these particular products. One of the biggest things here is important. Minimum Aruba OS version to operate. Now this is important when we start talking about the APs that we have, right? This 7008, for instance, the minimum Aruba OS version is 6.5.0.0. Now there are some access points that don't support going up to 6.5. They're only at the 6.4.1 like it has on the 7030, or the 6.4.3 like it has on the 7205. So if you are thinking about deploying something like a 7008 in a remote office somewhere, in a small branch office, that's fine. Just make sure that the APs you have, go into that comparison tool and make sure that the APs that you're going to have are up to snuff, and that they are able to support that maximum firmware version for them, but maybe the minimum firmware version for this. One more thing here, once you get into the family, I just want to show you can also compare specifications within a family, and this is a fairly new thing on the website. But if you don't want to compare between families, like let's say we don't want to worry about comparing between the 7000 series and the 7200 series, you can do that. We've got a little chart here again that talks about our features for performance and capacity, our interfaces and indicators, and also our physical dimensions for all of these things, and anything else you could possibly want to know. You can hop into there, you can read the data sheets for the Aruba OS 6.5 and 8. You can see solutions overviews, as well as access the ordering guide. This is a great little thing as well. If you pull up an ordering guide, it'll tell you exactly which particular model you need to select, and then it'll take you through one by one to see what else you need to worry about for getting that particular model. So let's just, for sake of example, hop down to the 7008. And in our case, if I was going to get this for our office, obviously we are in the U.S. office. We're not a FIPS TAA compliant requirement here, so we can just stick with the JX928 version of this particular model of the 7008. And this is the 8-port 100-watt PoE Plus 10100 1000 base T, 16 AP and 1000 client controller. That's a mouthful just to say it's a good entry-level branch office controller based in the U.S. We'll select the power supply based on where we are. Of course, for us, we're going to want to do the North American, so the JW124A part number. If you want to do a spare power supply, you certainly can do that as well, and that would be GX933. I get a lot of questions on those spare power supports. And then, of course, the power supply for that, because it'll come with the power supply and you'll pick your cord, but if you get the spare, you'll also need a separate power cord. And again, we just want to make sure for us we're picking the right one, which is North America. We can do a shelf mount if we want. I've seen these things in a rack, and it was very strange to see it, because at first I thought it was like a tiny little switch that was in a display rack when I first saw these things come out, and they said, no, this is 7008, and I peeked my head around the back, and sure enough, what looked like a little AP was in a rack mount with its ports facing outward. So you can do that for the 7008. And you can also get the individual AP licenses, and we'll talk about licensing in another video. If you want to go the enterprise route instead and get you an Airwave license in addition, you can do that. And if we need to basically get this 7008 to port its connection back to get the policy enforcement firewall back into the main controller, we would get the policy PEFV license as well. And then, of course, we've gone down to the 7010 series. So anyway, these are all great tools that are available at your disposal as well. So that's all I wanted to show you on this. If you have any questions, feel free to shoot me an email. My email address is brennank@synnex.com. That's BRENNANK Synnan, the letter K, at Synnex, Synnex.com, and I'll be happy to answer any questions you have. If you just want to know more about Aruba in general, you can also shoot us an email at aruba@synnex.com. Thanks very much. Have a good day. We'll see you next time.